prayer now, the final blessing, and then we'll have the Simon.
Welcome to Be My Guest with Mary Honan on lirmedia.tv. And Be My Guest supports the Samaritans, Limerick and Tipperary. And my very special guest, what can I say about my very special guest, but that it's Father Ray Kelly. And for anyone who doesn't know Father Ray Kelly, he actually broke the internet not long ago when he sang at a wedding, and he put his own words to Hallelujah, and it went absolutely and utterly viral, so much so that he was asked to sing all over the world, and he even went on Britain's Got Talent and was told by Simon Cowell that his performance was Simon Cowell's favorite performance ever on Britain's Got Talent. So, hello, Father Ray Kelly.
How are you, Mary? Nice to talk to you.
I'm sure. Look, I'm fantastic. My friend Carmel said to me, "Will you ever get Father Ray Kelly on?" So say hello to Carmel Gall.
Hello, Carmel, wherever you are. How are you?
She said, "I said I've been trying to get him, and I just rang Oldcastle Parish Church, and I couldn't believe that you actually spoke to me."
That was it. Sure, if you ring the number, I answer the phone. It's as simple as that.
Tell me about your life, Father Ray. You were a late vocation to the priesthood.
I was, yeah. I worked in the civil service in Dublin in the Department of Defence for many, many years, about 10, nearly 11 years. And I then started thinking about priesthood, maybe a couple of years before, maybe after 8 years. And so then I suppose the big turning point really came when I remember when John Paul II came to Ireland in 1979.
That's right.
And I remember going to see him in the Phoenix Park, and everybody was impressed. And then the following year, I was in Dublin, and a group of us from the Catholic Youth Council decided to pay him a return visit. So 1,000 young people. I was a lot younger then than I am now, and a lot of young people. 1,000 of us decided to, which was organised by the Catholic Youth Council, to go over and visit John Paul. So we met him in St. Peter's Square, and then we went out to Castle Gandolfo, where he said Mass for us as the group. And then we went back again another evening, and we had a concert for him. And I remember singing the song Danny Boy for him. And thought nothing of that. And afterwards, you go up and meet him, and you kneel down, and he presents you with a rosary beads, and it was lovely, So then I come home, and we're all sort of, all the friends that were with me at the time on that trip were sort of all in a buzz over the whole thing, really. And I suppose I remember at that stage I started going to Mass a bit more. Then I said, I better start learning to pray a bit more now, because I had, like every teenager, you drop out of the church for a while, And then I used to go to Mass across the road from where I worked at 8 o'clock every morning. And then I began to have thoughts after a while. And the thought was simply in my head, Ray, you could be up, like a voice, you could be up there doing what that fella's doing. And I used to kind of get scared with the thought of it, and I'd dismiss it, and then it keep coming back to me every time I was at Mass, Ray, you could be up there doing what that priest is doing, And I kind of, then it would go away for a while, and I'd say, oh, thanks be to God, it was all in the head anyway, so it was only an imagination. So, and then when it would be gone for a while, I'd be disappointed that it was gone. And then it would come back again. And this went on for maybe a year or more. I suppose it's like when something's going on in your head like that, like a tug of war, you feel you have to talk to somebody about it,
Yeah.
And I remember talking to a priest about it, and he says, yeah, you could have a vocation maybe. And I kind of thought I was 26, 27 years of age at that stage. I said, no, that's great. That time, like, young guys went to the seminary in 17 and 18 years of age, But,
do you think that the fact that you were 27 gave you a wealth more experience than a lot of young priests who are going in and they have no life experience behind them? You knew what you were heading into.
Yeah, that's true also, Mary, because like had been working for a good few years. I had my own car. I had just about bought a house and a mortgage in the house going back in 1977, 78. I had a mortgage for a house, and you know, we're earning good money as a civil servant. Enjoyed the social life, the pubs, you know, and I'd go into singing competitions sometimes if they were on in the pubs as well, and I'd win some and I'd lose some. It was great fun, and all the friends would come along.
And you had girlfriends, and you had...
I had a girlfriend as well, yeah. Actually, she was a dancing teacher as well, like yourself.
Irish dancing or what?
Yeah, Irish dancing, yeah. She's qualified Irish dancing too. But she worked with me in the civil service as well. And
I'd love to know who she was, but sure.
Actually, I met her. I was doing a concert in the where was it? It was either, I think, the Olympia. One of the first concerts I did, either the Olympia or somewhere in Navan, or maybe it was the theatre in Navan, or the National Concert. I can't remember which one, but actually I was introduced to her again, and I didn't recognize her. It was embarrassing. I nearly had dropped when somebody said, "Do you know who this is?" And I said, "No." It's Catherine. Oh, jeez.
Oh, you've left a name out there now. You've said
I know I did. That's as good as it gets there. But anyway, so life went on then, and I joined. I was going to join the MSCs, the Sacred Heart Priests in Blackrock in Dublin, and I'd gone for a live-in weekend there because that's what they do, and I really enjoyed it, sort of a weekend of prayer with them. And then my mother had a cousin, Father Joe Pettit. He's long dead since, and he was a Kiltegan father, St. Patrick's Missionary Society, and he was out in Nigeria, and he was home on holidays. And my mother mentioned it to him about what I was thinking of doing. And he said, "Why don't you go down to Kiltegan and have a chat with them down there?" And I suppose, like anywhere, you shop around then when you're going to do something, you know. And the more I did then, the more excited I got about it, that I was on the right road, you know. And I went to Kiltegan in County Wicklow, which is way up in the Wicklow Mountains, and a beautiful setting, beautiful place. And I just fell in love with the place. And I said, well, this is going to work for me, because I felt after being 10, 11 years in Dublin, it'd be better getting away from Dublin if I really wanted to see if this was right for me or not, you know. So I joined the St. Patrick's Missionary Society. I spent 7 years with them, and I was ordained in 1989, and I was sent to South Africa to work. And I was out in South Africa for about 3 months learning the language when I got a phone call from my mum. Now, at that time, there was no mobile phones, so it was landline only. And got a phone call from my mum. It was expensive to make calls even that time, to say that Dad, my father, was very ill. I didn't know whether it was dementia or Alzheimer's, or, you know, he was. So the doctor had recommended to my mother that I'd be told, and maybe I consider coming home. So I was only out 3 months when I got on a flight home from Johannesburg, and my dad was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and he died on the 14th of February. So 2 months after I came home, he died, and he was operated on in Beaumont Hospital, but they could do nothing. They just closed him up again. So then I went back to Africa after that, maybe a month or two after that, and I was only back 3 or 4 months when the phone rang again, and this time it was my mother. She'd got a heart attack, and it was touch and go, and I genuinely didn't know what to do, because I felt guilty nearly about going home again after being only home a few months before that. And I remember 2 Franciscan nuns came in to me to visit, and I was told, they knew I was emotional and crying a little bit, and they said, "What's wrong?" And I told them, they said, "For God's sake, go and book up your flight and go home and be with your mother." And I did. And she survived it, and she died then, you know, only in 2004. So I went back then after her recovery, and I spent about a year and a half back there. I just couldn't settle then after that, and I said, "No, I need to come home for a while and just settle." And because I really hadn't grieved for my father, and I suppose, you know, hadn't communicated a lot with my family either. So I decided to come home then for a couple of years, and I just started working temporary appointments in Ireland. I worked in the Corps as an army chaplain. I worked in Octacloy in County Tyrone, and I was sent to America then for 3 or 4 months to do mission appeal work, and came back then, and then I got a temporary appointment in Navan, and I was 9 years in Navan working, and I fell in love with the place, Navan, and was there, and then I became incarnated into the Meath diocese, because it's my home diocese anyway, and Bishop Smith, who was the bishop of Meath, he ordained me as well, so he knew me pretty well, so he's quite happy to take me in. And I was 9 years in Navan. I loved Navan. There was a great musical society in it, so I joined that straight away. And I was in a lot of shows, Guys and Dolls, Jesus Christ Superstar, Josephine is Amazing, The Fiddler on the Roof. I played loads of parts in different shows there. It was just a great experience. And I was 9 years there, and then I was sent to Muckla outside Tullamore, a small village, for 4 years. And during those 4 years, my mum died, and then I was transferred to where I am now here in Oldcastle as parish priest, and I've been here for nearly 14 years now in October. Yeah.
I was just looking at, the promo when in Britain's Got Talent, when you said Oldcastle there, and Got Talent, and they make the little promo look like you're just walking down the street in Oldcastle, and it's so quirky Irish,
I will know.
Yeah, but you were very amenable. You were a priest that, God knows, especially nowadays with the coronavirus, that people are clinging to faith, and I think faith is becoming more important again for people. Because I mean, you can have faith, and it can be a messianic faith. It can be faith outside of a belief in God, but a faith but you need to have faith in something, whether it's in a Messiah, or whether it's in just the belief that things are going to get better. Without faith, we're lost. And I think you kind of epitomized the modern priesthood, if you like. Somebody who you could approach. You were very approachable.
And a lot of priests would have commented on it afterwards, sent me letters and said, "Well done, you did great for our priesthood," because we get a lot of knocking, as you know, now and then, especially in the past with the old abuse and all that. And rightly so, I suppose the knocking we were entitled to it. But 99.9% of us are just ordinary guys trying to get on with life and do the best we can and be there for the people we work with and the parishes we live in and that kind of thing, So.
What do you feel about? I suppose we have to touch on that. What do you feel, Father, about the view that's held amongst some? I won't say everyone, because I am of the belief that I was educated entirely by nuns, and I loved every one of them. Maybe one, wasn't very nice to me, but I loved every one of them, and I have the greatest of respect for all the priests I've ever known. But there is that kind of lust, if you like, now for blaming all priests for what happened, or for the sex abuse. I suppose it's true. I mean, but the way I look at it is, if somebody kind of is given out, and I say, well, if you go to a bad doctor and you get a bad diagnosis, and does that mean you stop going to doctors when you get sick again? And they say, well, no, I'll go to another doctor. Well, I say it's the same. If you meet a bad priest, or that doesn't mean you should give up on your faith or your church. It's don't be tarnishing the whole church and priesthood just because of one guy, one person, And I think that's it really, in a sense of, locally, people still love, every parish priest, every priest and their people still love their priest. And, they may not always come to Mass on Sunday and that kind of thing, but, at least, he's there for them when they want them. And, whether it's somebody sick or a funeral or a wedding or a baptism or whatever, he's there. And it's a great pleasure, and it's a great honor for somebody like me, to be doing that and to be allowed into people's lives and into people's homes, and when things are good and when things are not so good. I suppose I want to ask you, while we're on this subject, I understand the whole role of the confessional and the importance of the priest's oath to God is more important to them than an oath in a legal court of law. So you are compelled under oath not to reveal the sanctity of the confessional. What do you believe? What is your personal view of that? Given that many people would say that if you were told as a priest that somebody had abused a child, how do you balance
that? I suppose under the seal of confession, I can't go and report it, but all I can do maybe at the sacrament is that we only, you can absolve the person if they're truly sorry for what happened, but then you can encourage them, look, really, you should be talking to the police about this, because that's where it rests now. It's a civil problem, not more rather than a church problem. But it's like, I suppose, if you go for private counselling to a counsellor and presume they're under the same situation, they have the seal as well. They can't just go and report. I don't know, but I don't think they can go and report it either.
It's doctor-client confidential.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of similar, but I know there'd be some countries and states and kind of places maybe trying to change that kind of thing, but I think the church would never allow that to happen.
Yeah. The difference, I suppose, with medical professions is that you can get a legal injunction to actually the law can come in and can
get them to reveal that.
Get them to reveal the information you can't within the church. I always find that it's a difficult position for a priest to be in, because they have the oath that they've taken that to what they believe is a higher court. Justice, God, and the oath that they are, and it's an awful, I wouldn't like to be in that position, but I wouldn't like to have to make that decision, Father. Do you, just one other question on that's often I've pondered on, is what do you feel about priests and marriage?
I would be all for optional celibacy, and I would be all for priests to marry, because I think, well, first of all, the Church of Ireland has it, and various, Anglican churches have it. And I mean, we have priests, married priests actually in the Catholic Church in the UK, because they left the Anglican Church and they brought their wives and their children with them, and they were accepted into the Catholic Church. And I'm sure they're doing okay and doing a good job. I mean, okay, for me, I've taken the vow of celibacy, and that's fine, and I accept that. And I don't think any woman would want to live with me anyway. But
perhaps Catherine, and we
no. We still
haven't found out who she is.
She's well and truly married now and has children, and I'm sure she's quite happy. But I think, the day is coming, and I probably won't see it, and maybe you won't, Mary, but the day is coming. And the church moves very slow on things, but the day is coming, because to me, the most important part of the church is the sacraments. And if there is no priests available to provide the sacraments, then there is no sacramental church. So there'll be no baptisms, no weddings, no mass, no anointings, no confirmations, all that. That would be if there's no priest there to do that, then it's gone. So I mean, do you let the church die because you don't want a married man to do it? I think that's going to eventually raise, and I think, the present Pope Francis is sort of hinting at stuff like that at the moment, and that's probably all he can do, because remember, it's like the government here in Ireland. He's only one man. He's a lot of people around him who would disagree with all of that,
Oh God, you're just touching on things now that, bring me to this. As a priest, Father, and I know Father McVerry, I hugely admire Father McVerry's work with the homeless. As a priest and as a Christian, and you're a very popular priest. How can you think about what's happening in this country with the poor? And I mean, I'm looking at the situation now with this COVID-19, and they're telling people to stay at home, and we're closer, separated, and stay at home and cocoon. What about the misfortunes that don't have a home?
Exactly.
Cocoon, and for whom a mask is the least of their problems.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's they're sleeping in doorways. I remember when I was up. Now, as I said, I lived and worked in Dublin for 11 years, nearly, back in the mid 70s, 70s, all through the 70s and early into the 80s. And this time, when I was rehearsing with Dancing with the Stars, they provided an apartment for us in Capel Street. And I'd get the Lewis across to the dancing studio over near the O3 place, you know, where we'd have our dancing rehearsals. And I was, in the evening time when I'd come back to the apartment sometimes, and my eyes were opened walking around the streets of Dublin, Henry Street and O'Connell Street, maybe at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, I might just go out for a walk. The number of people, I couldn't get over it. The number of people sleeping in doorways. I was just blown away by it. I really couldn't understand it.
It's just astonishing that in what's supposed to be a first world country, that we still have mothers going out and fathers going out at 8 o'clock in the morning with their children to school and not being able to get back into a hotel until 9 o'clock at night.
I know I don't know where I was reading or listening to it recently on the radio. Sometimes they go back then to a bed that has been slept in by somebody else that previous night, and they get into that bed then. And so, I mean, you know, you can imagine, you know, if COVID was as rampant as it supposedly is, how they would be very vulnerable towards it, you know.
But it does make you wonder, you know, I mean, you know, I just don't, and I also look at it from the point of view of, I have a cousin, my cousin's daughter is profoundly deaf, and she doesn't speak, and neither does her husband. And you're looking at these masks and the importance in this country of teaching somebody who is deaf. They teach lip reading first. And sign, of course, and then sign. In America, it's sign first. So Tara and her husband, Timmy, they would rely solely on facial expressions.
Of course,
So, you know, nobody is thinking of somebody going into a pub or going into a restaurant and not being able to communicate. They are now, after being taken, the only means of communication has been taken away by this obsession with having a mask on. Yeah,
exactly. I mean,
you know,
it's and yet, you know, we have to protect ourselves. I suppose if they say it's the way to protect from the virus, then we just, you know, it's the best option, I guess, you know. That's all we can do, you know.
The start of your journey along notoriety and fame worldwide and global fame and recognition was a song you sang by Leonard Cohen, and we'll play it now next here.
Okay.
And I'm recording this now, so I'll be able to slot it in there. And were you a big fan of Leonard Cohen?
Absolutely not. No, I never. I listened to him. I love some of his songs. His one, "Sisters of Mercy," is one of his songs, and the Hallelujah, of course. Around that time of the wedding was 2014, and I had a wedding up in Enniskillen about 5 or 6 years before that. And it was around the time that the Hallelujah song was the big song that came out of the X Factor. Leona Lewis or Alexandra Burke, one of them anyway. And GLS
Alexandra Burke sang it.
Yeah, and GLS were the group as well, and they were in the final. And both of them sung the song, and Alexandra Burke won. Yeah, and the wedding I was at was because the groom was from here, but the bride was from up in Enniskillen. And they asked me, because I knew the family well, would I go up and do the wedding? And I politely said, yeah, sure, yeah. So I went up, and during the signing of the civil register at the end, there was this little girl. She was the bride's goddaughter, and also Lucy Potts O'Connor was her name. There's my phone now. Hang on there a second, I'll switch that off. And hello? May I watch somebody? I'll talk to you later. Bye. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So anyway, you'll be able to cut and paste, won't you?
Yeah.
So anyway, Lucy was singing this song, Hallelujah, and she had written the words with her mum and dad for the wedding. And I thought that was very clever and very lovely. So I asked Lucy for a copy of the words. She was only 12 or 13. I think she was younger. She might have been only 9 or 10 or something. So I came home and had the word. One day I was going to send my suit to the cleaners, and I took this out of my suit, and I said, oh God, yeah, the word. I threw it into a drawer anyway and left it there. And maybe months later, I went back to the drawer and I found it, and I said, now it'd be lovely to get a backing track to sing this song. So I downloaded the GLS version backing track, which was the right key for my voice. And I put it up on a mini disc, and then I started singing it at an odd wedding, not too many weddings. And that was fine. I'd done it many times before. And then this famous wedding, Chris and Leo O'Kane came along on the 6th of April 2014. And we had a wedding rehearsal about 2 or 3 days before that. And chose my church here in Oldcastle. Chris was from, where was it, County Tyrone, and Leo was from Dublin. But they were having the reception here in a hotel quite near here, the Crover House Hotel. And then they chose my church for the wedding ceremony. Cookstown. Chris was from Cookstown. So anyway, we went through the wedding rehearsal 2 days before the wedding, and everything was fine. They had a music group coming, 3 girls, to do the music and all that. And I just said, normally if it was a local couple, they'd say, Father Ray, you'll have to sing a song for us at the wedding. And I'd say, sure, and I'd oblige, and I might sing Love Changes Everything, or the Panis Angelicus, or the Ave Maria, or something like that. But this couple didn't know I sung at all, and they didn't ask me. And I just said out of the blue before we left the church, I said, sure, I might sing an old song for you myself, you know. And they looked at each other as much as, is he off his
our wedding?
What's wrong with him? Is he feeling all right or something? He's going to sing at our wedding, you know. So, but I just thought the message had got through and never thought any more about it. And the wedding day came, and I got up, as you saw on the YouTube clip, from my chair and hit my back and track, and everyone was looking at me, and I knew there was whispers going on in the crowd because they were saying, "Is who's singing?" Is it? But the girl group, music group, had no men in it, so it couldn't have been any of them. And then they realised it was me singing, and my God, they said. And then there was a standing ovation at the end. That was it. That was the end of it as far as I was concerned. Until I had an email from Chris and Lee on the Tuesday to tell me they were off to Mexico on their honeymoon. And they said, by the way, thank you for a wonderful service, and particularly for the surprise we got with Hallelujah. And by the way, they said it's on YouTube, and they sent me the link. Now, I can tell you now, I didn't even know what YouTube was at the time. Hadn't a clue. And they sent me this link, and I hit the link, and I watched this, and I scratched my head, and I said, my God, where did that come from, you know? And I watched it and watched it. And my niece's husband was here painting or doing something, and I said, Dale, come here, look at this thing, look. And he watched it. And within an hour, the phone started ringing. Father Ray, you're on Facebook, you're on Twitter, you're on YouTube, you're all over the place. And it's 1,000 hits, and it's spread like the coronavirus. Absolutely just spread like wildfire. And within the next morning, I come in from Mass, and Esther, my housekeeper, said, Ray Darcy's on the phone, he wants you. He was on News Talk or one of the other stations at the time, or something. And I spoke to Ray. And then the next thing was, half an hour later, Ryan Tubridy was on Would I Do the Late Late Show. I was on his radio show first that morning, and then Would I Do the Late Late Show on the Friday night. And that's how it all. Then the German TV stations, the German radio stations, all over the world were zooming in. Australia, America, they all wanted to talk. China, yeah, the whole, I could not.
A few people wanted you to do their wedding in China.
That's right, all over the place. I mean, the next thing, emails started coming in, a phone call. Father Ray, will you come here? Croatia, UK, America, China, Japan. I think there was an invitation for Poland. They thought I had nothing else to do, and I hop on a plane and go and sing Hallelujah at their wedding. You know, it was kind of mad. But from then on, Holy Week was coming, and I said, listen, back off, leave me alone. Holy Week was the most important week in our church's calendar, so I said, have to get this sorted. So I got through Holy Week. Now, there was the odd phone call slipping through as well, and different things. And then it was almost like that week of Holy Week, I was missing all the attention, you know. I was loving it. I was absolutely loving it, all the phone calls and talking about the story, because I wasn't expecting any of that, you know. And then
I think that's what made everyone love you, Father Ray, was the way you embraced it, and the look of total boyish innocence, this exuberance.
Yeah,
it's something that was after coming late and relatively late in life.
Late in my life, yeah.
Everything seems to have come late in life. The priesthood were 27, and then
my mother always said I was a late beginner, a late starter, and everything. Anyway, so she was right. She was right. If she was alive today, she'd agree with me. God knows. But that's how it all began. And then Holy Week was over, and Easter Monday came, and it was almost like I said, okay, I'm ready for you now. Come back at me again. Come on, phone calls, emails, come on, And sure, everyone was flying then. And eventually I had to talk to somebody then, because Universal Music were on my back, International. Sony Music were on my back. They wanted to record me. They wanted an album done. And I said, God, I don't know, I need a manager. And Brian Turbin even said that in the Late Late Show, you're going to need an agent very fast, he says, you know. And I got a guy then called Gordon Charlton, because a solicitor in Navan, and he introduced me to a barrister who is used to dealing with contracts for musicians and singers with the record companies. So, and he actually only lived 15 miles away from here. And actually, he's a Limerick man, actually. Willie Ryan, I suppose I can mention his name. Willie Ryan is his name. And he's back living.
He's a barrister.
Sorry?
He's a barrister.
He's barrister, and he's back living in Limerick now again. He's married to a Meath girl.
Best people come from Limerick.
Of course, sure. I goes without saying, you know, goes without saying. So that was kind of that. And then at least I had somebody now to represent me and talk the language that I didn't know about, if you know what I mean.
And protect you.
A record deal. And then I had this email from a guy in Vienna called Christian Seitz. And Christian, I didn't understand. His English wasn't that great, but, you know, he was trying to write it in English, how much he had this vision of recording an album with an Irish person. And when he saw this clip of Hallelujah, he said, I was the guy. And as it happens, Gordon, my manager at the time then, and myself were going to Cologne to take part in a TV show. And we agreed to meet. Christian wanted to fly in here. We said, no, sure, we'll meet you in Germany. And he took us out to a very nice restaurant. And Gordon had a chat with him then afterwards. And I fell in love with the man. And he came here and spent 6 weeks in Ireland here with another German record producer, David Bronner, who actually produced the winning song that won the Eurovision for Austria with Conchita Wurst, Rise Like a Phoenix. It won about 2004.
I know, she was the bearded
gentleman, bearded lady, yeah. And so then
she was a great singer.
Fabulous voice. And I met them, they come over and they said, well, because you're a priest, we don't want to take you away to Austria or Vienna or anywhere, so we'll build a studio for you in the parochial house. So my whole dining room was turned into the hub of recording, and my conservatory beside it was turned like a phone booth built around me, and the microphones all around me, and I recording my music and my songs. And that's how the first album was recorded, the Where I Belong album, with the Hallelujah song on it. And Everybody Hurts is the other song that was on it as well.
Oh, Lord, I'll tell you, we're actually going to play Everybody Hurts sometime now, and after it we'll have a chat about it, Father.
Okay.
Now, can you tell me the background to why you chose that? Because I'll tell you, there was one, when you look at it on YouTube, there was the camera zoomed in on one young man in the audience, and I think he actually epitomized for everybody what that song seemed to resonate with everybody. And to be honest with you, I've never seen Simon Cowell because he's a hard-nosed. Now, I admire him hugely, and he does recognize somebody who is going to make him money, but also somebody who has talent. He may not have been a singer himself or whatever, but he recognizes somebody who's going to bring money in when he sees it. And he said you were his favorite audition ever, that particular version, because he said it actually was genuine and true. But what is it about Everybody Hurts and your version of it that you think that actually made that so special, such a special moment?
I think it's a song, I suppose, when I heard it first, and it's a song I never ever thought I'd ever sing or record. But when we were thinking of songs here, I remember I listened to it, and then David and Christian, who were here, sort of regurgitated it a little bit, in a sense that it's not exactly the recording that REM did, you know. But I just felt every time I sing it, because I think I can go from falsetto into tenor in it, and I create the softness and the emotion in the song that helps me kind of.
The falsetto was beautiful.
Yeah, and I suppose, you know, actually, as I always say, every time I go out to sing, I had my sister's photograph in my pocket. She had died 2 years earlier. She was very close to me. She was my younger sister, and she was, you know, and I think, you know, I started thinking about her as I was waiting to go out, and the emotion was building in my head and in my voice. And I think that it just took me over, in a sense, took control of everything, that I was able to express the song with so much emotion that I did, you know. I know REM tweeted afterwards that my performance was powerful and poignant, which was an amazing comment from the guys who wrote the song originally, the REM boys.
Yeah.
And Simon actually then said as well, he says, I would have given you my golden buzzer as well, only I had given it away 2 days earlier to a father and son who were playing guitars.
And I could have slapped him for saying that, because you deserved the golden buzzer. That was actually, the father and son were absolutely amazing as well.
Yeah,
but your moment was actually a moment that resonated with so many. Those suffering with depression, those suffering from grief, those suffering from loss, those suffering, people suffering. And it was just a moment in time that, you know, you could see it in the audience. There wasn't, everybody was thinking, you could almost see their minds going around.
Yeah, as I think you know, not Amanda, whatchamacallit, what's her name? David William, not David, Amanda, Alicia actually
Alicia
said,
Keys, or Alicia Keys, or Alicia Dixon.
Alicia, she actually said, she says, you could feel everybody identifying with the words that I was singing. And she says, you know, she could feel that, you know, everybody was identifying with their own hurt and their own pain, that everybody does hurt at some stage in their life. It's part of all our lives, part of our journey.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a song that could be cliched when it's sung by anyone other than REM. But I suppose the whole image, everything was right for that particular moment, Father. With all respect, you were there in your clerical collar. You were a lovely, genuine, gentle Irish priest. Singing about something that resonated with everyone on a level.
But it's a strange thing. I had gone to Germany 2 years before that to sing in the Germans Got Talent, called Super Talent in Germany. I'd been invited over to do it as well. And I sung the song, they asked me to sing Love, Shine a Light. And I did. And the judges weren't overly impressed with it, but then the audience recognized me and they started shouting, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. And
power of YouTube.
Yeah, because they remembered me and seen it. And the judges didn't know what they were on about. I had to explain it to them, you know. And one of the judges, a tall black man from Holland or from America, Dutch extraction, stood up and started, you know, of course, cameras go on him straight away. Hallelujah, hallelujah. I'm sick of people singing hallelujah. And I looked at him and says, I didn't sing hallelujah. What are you on, you know? And then the head judge, the Simon Cowell, said, well, will you sing it? And I said, well, I don't have that track. I actually had Everybody Hurts as well lined up, but they didn't ask me. So then he said, well, will you sing it a cappella? And I started singing it, and about halfway through, he held up his hand. He says, that's okay. He says, I really don't want to offend my friend here any more than we have. And I walked off the stage and I said, I would never, ever, ever go into something like that again. And when Britain's Got Talent contacted me to do their show, I told them that story. And I said, no way. I says, it's all about judges and it's not about the artist. And I says, no way. And I told them exactly how I felt. And they contacted me again. And they said, well, will you think about it? And I said, I will, but I have. But anyway, they contacted me a few months later and they said, would you try? And I says, we assure you we will respect you and have total, you know, you won't be treated like that. And I thought, well, sure, look, I give it a go. And I kind of went over with that attitude of this, let's get this over and out of the way so as I can come back home and get on with my normal life. Because if you do, when you're invited and it's playing on your mind, the only way to get rid of it is to go through it and do it and get it out of the way.
I think the only comparison I could come to in that moment was, and I don't know if you've ever seen it, and if you haven't, you need to go on YouTube and watch it. I probably would put it up on this. And it was a sister, Christina Scuccia, and she won Italy's Voice.
Yeah.
And they, you know, in The Voice, they always have their backs turned to the audience. And she came out in the habit, short skirt, the little wimpet in her hair, and she sang a rock song
Right.
with the most glorious rock voice, just completely professional rock voice that would rival any rock singer in the world. And the audience, of course, went insane. And two rock singers on the panel. And when they turned and actually saw that she was a nun, they just couldn't believe it. And there were 3 other little nuns in the back with her family, her mother and father, watching the from the side. And she was only a young nun. I'd say she was in her 20s, Sister Christina Scuccia. But oh my God, she was just fabulous. And that, that and you, I really thought you were going to win it outright, because I thought, the whole image, the whole vibe was.
Interesting you mentioned her, because when I was signed up with Universal International in London with the album Where I Belong, they eventually stopped promoting me. And this is my record producer told me this, Christian. He says he didn't know why, after spending so much money making this album. Well, they said there was a nun, seemingly they signed up this nun in Italy, and it was her, and seemingly she sung a song like, was it Touch Like a Virgin, Madonna song or something like that?
Touch Like a Virgin.
Yeah, and it didn't go down well at all, and they dropped her. And they said, well, sure, if a nun who won The Voice can't be successful, surely a singing priest can't do much either. And they dropped me and they dropped her. And my record producer tells me afterwards, that's what they do at the end of the year when they have to tighten their books and do this and do that. And one of the A&R men, who's the guys who pick these people for songs and stuff, said, Asher, Father Ray Kelly can't even sing. And Christian reported, I think he contacted him afterwards and told him what he said after I'd appeared on Britain's Got Talent, just to rub it into him, I think,
No, but I mean, it was a strange choice for them to, and I would.
It was very for that sister, yeah.
Yeah, I would have imagined that she was badly
advised there.
And I'd say they pushed for it, because I have a colleague in Irish dancing who was on Britain's Got Talent. He's 5 times world Irish dancing champion.
Yeah.
And they advised him. He wanted to dance to Irish, contemporary Irish music, and they advised him to dance to Somewhere Over the Rainbow. They said it was Simon Cowell's favorite song. And actually, when he came out, Simon said to him, "That's the one song I absolutely detest."
Really?
And there was no beat. There was no 2/4, no 4/4 time, no 6/8 time beat.
Yeah, exactly.
Over the Rainbow, and and I don't know why they do that. I don't know whether they're setting people up for a fail.
Sometimes you wonder. But that's kind of what happened with me in Britain. And then, I mean, even I had signed a record deal with Simon and all, but it was based on if I got into the final, which I didn't do. And so then the record deal is null and void because of that, so
did you ever think or did your managers ever think of teaming up with her for
with who?
Sisters?
Not really, no. It never occurred to me. I tell you, I would have loved to have done a duet with Susan Boyle, all right.
Yes.
She didn't win Britain's Got Talent either, but she came second one year.
And
she went on to become, a big star. And
same with Jonathan Antoine and Charlotte Giaconelli. They came second.
That's right. I remember those.
And he's world famous now.
Yeah. Paul Potts was another guy. He won it as well, and he'd done very well out of it as well. So it's it was an opening, but it's all right. I always put it down to experience. I enjoyed it. And it's just like the dancing, and I just like the entertainment, and I like, I suppose, that kind of thing. But the way I always think at the end of it, well, I have another life. I'm not dependent on it, and I get on with my life as a priest, and that's it, and that's fine too.
And what is going to be your future now, Father?
Well, I suppose my future is I have another album recorded, which was to come out last year. And then I recorded with Nigel Wright in London, who recorded my Christmas album as well a couple of years ago. So that's ready to go. We're going to hold off now till near Christmas, I think October, November market. And there's some great songs, a couple of original songs on it. And obviously I can't do any concerts now because of the whole COVID thing. So we don't know when, most of us as singers and musicians, we don't know when that's going to, blow over or pass, So it's my book is out. I launched my memoirs last year. So that's Memoirs of the Singing Priest, Father Ray Kelly. That's in Meath.
Your voice is gone now.
Am I there?
Yeah, you're back again.
I'm back, yeah. So, I've been invited to do different things still, people. I'm going to planning a tour of America now, even though I've done America before. Next September, 12 months, trying to get about 10 or 12 concerts together.
Oh, you'll make it huge in America, Father. Love you.
And I've been invited now as well to sing in some festival in Hong Kong in November, 12 months as well. So I've never been to that side of the world, so I look forward to that. At the same time, my life here as a priest in Old Castle, and life goes on, and I have my buddy dog here beside me to look after him and all that kind of thing. So
have you only one dog now?
Yeah, I lost Biddy last year. They were twins, and I lost her last year. She had cancer.
What was their name?
Biddy and Buddy.
Biddy and Buddy. Okay.
Buddy's here beside me. Biddy died. Yeah, Biddy died last year. Yeah.
But Father Ray, if you want to send in any music to me at all, I will play all your music here. I will.
Okay. Yeah, you can text me your address or whatever there, and
I will indeed. But Father Ray, it was absolutely it's fabulous. And God bless. Bye bye.